Hi, good evening. I am Reverend Sherri James. I am Senior Minister for Understanding Principles for Better Living Church, and this is our Thursday night Bible study. It started out as the Bible Hangout, which is a part of was my own personal ministry, but in moving into the Senior Minister position for Understanding Principles, I've been slowly kind of bringing everything together. So over the course of the next probably 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, but whatever, but you'll start to see some different changes and things, perhaps a venue change. I don't know. We'll see what the Spirit has available. But I am excited to be here. And we're in the midst of a prayer series that I am so excited about. And we have been talking about prayer on like so many different levels. And tonight we're going to look at this concept that Paul talks about in the 5th chapter of Thessalonians, which is praying without ceasing. And so without further ado, I will pull up our PowerPoint presentation. So the question that we're going to ask tonight is, can anyone really pray without ceasing? Can anyone really pray without ceasing? And this chapter is called to pray constantly. And so we're going to look at how to pray constantly. And so let's just start at the top. Yeah, the answer is yes. But we're going to talk about what that looks like and what does it actually mean? And does it actually mean to be on your knees in a prayer posture for 24 hours? What does that mean? Does that mean that you are, let's say you've got something that's really pressing on your heart and you just pray all night. So you're praying without ceasing. We're going to look at a metaphysical approach to what it means to pray without ceasing. I've got a couple of announcements, then we'll get into our opening prayer, and then we'll talk about why prayer matters. And then we'll look at developing prayer mastery, and we'll talk about the power of an exalted state. And then we'll look at the 8 steps to pray without ceasing. And I think this is probably one of the first times that I will not cover all of the material in the chapter. She goes into a lot of good stuff. She talks about having prayer partners. That's been one of my most effective prayer relationships. Kim Yarbrough, who was on The Voice and is done a ton of stuff. She's a regular on the Haunted Hathaways for Nickelodeon, and goodness, I could name all of her other credits, but she and I were prayer partners long before any of that. This was like way back in the day, and I was attempting to write or turn myself into a writer. And, she was this actress who was talented, but not yet getting the kind of work that fit her talent. And we would literally get up in the morning and pray every day. And we dealt with like some mundane stuff, y'all, like, persistent parking tickets, not having enough money for rent. All kinds of stuff that we just addressed in prayer. And it was really powerful because we had started praying together, and then for different reasons, life just kind of went in a different direction. And so we fell out of the daily prayer. And one New Year's Eve, let's say, but it was around that time, like the end of the year, we got back together and we were just really reflecting on what we had created with our joint prayer. And it was like, you know what? Mama ain't raised no fool. Let's do it again. And so this time, then it just really like kicked into overdrive, because now we just had all of the proof of what we had done as prayer partners. So there will not be time tonight to cover that, but that is in this chapter. And then my favorite, which I've shared with you guys before, which is prayer journals. And she talks about that as like the last section. It's like a little blurb. And I've shared with you how I've used prayer journals to create incredible experiences in my life. At the time, didn't even realize what I was doing. Really was just looking for a way to commune with God. And I found that I could write letters to God. And it wasn't until I transcribed those letters that I saw that there was this almost exactitude, not almost, there was an exactitude with the way that what I prayed about came to be, like down to the letter. And it really taught me that every prayer is answered. It's just that every prayer has a different timetable. And a lot of times things that we think are unanswered prayers actually just get answered, and we've forgotten that we even prayed about them. And many of the things that I wrote about in my letters to God, I forgotten about until I went back and transcribed the prayer journals, and then came upon things that I had prayed for that had come to pass in the exact way that I had asked for it to come to pass. So those are the things that she talks about at the end of the chapter. But tonight we're going to focus on this concept of praying without ceasing, which comes from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. So before we get started, I always like to share why I do this. Well, one is just I love teaching, but two, I think this information is so important. I think that figuring out your God thought, or what you think about God, is the most important work that you can do. I think it's more important than the college you go to. I think it's more important than the job you work. I think it's more important than whom you're married to or the church you go to. I think it is the most important thing in the entire world, because whatever is your God thought, it is your world. It is how your world is playing out. If you believe that life is unfair, that's your God thought, and it's playing out in your life, world, and affairs. If you believe that it's a dog eat dog world, that's your God thought, and it's playing out in your life, world, and affairs. Most people are unaware of what they really believe about God. They've got some things that they parrot, that they've heard on Sunday morning, or that they've read in some positive book, but they haven't yet stopped to really dissect, what do I really believe about this universe? And so the Bible Hangout is a platform where we can have these kinds of conversations. I think these are the most important conversations to have. And this is not about getting you to join a religion or follow a particular religious train of thought. It's just getting you to figure out what you believe, what's true for you, what's really, really true for you. And we all have a God thought, whether we call it that or not. So it doesn't, even to say that that someone's claiming to be an atheist, that's still a God thought, meaning it is a thought about how this universe works and how it's made up. And really, someone saying that I'm an atheist is really saying, what, of all the God concepts that I've heard, that I know about, I don't know about all of them. I don't know if anybody would ever admit that, but I don't know about all of them. But of all the ones that I know about, I don't agree with any of the ones that I've heard about. And so I'm choosing to believe that there is nothing. That's still a God thought. It's still an idea about how this universe works. And in a religious community, we use the term God to describe that, but it's still the same thing. So I think it's the most important thing that you can figure out. I think that it is, what's the word? Well, I think it's the most important thing that you can figure out. Hey, everybody in the chat room, good to see you. I just click somebody in. It says your name. Maybe it's Helco. Hello? No, I think you're just saying hello. Not Helco is your name. I encourage you to consider making a gift to the Bible Hangout. It is free, but it is not free as far as the cost to produce it. And so a gift of any size is greatly appreciated. And I thank you in advance for any gift you decide to make. And I thank you deeply for everyone who has made a gift. This has been such a busy time. I normally do personalized thank you notes, just because I think that you have to say thank you. But I have this week, like literally, I just crossed a major milestone this week. This has been a really like full time as far as this responsibilities on my plate with my church, with preparing for my ordination examination, and then having a 2-year-old. And so something dropped and the thank you letters dropped. So this is me publicly. And then at some point there's thank you letters coming for previous gifts, and just know that I'm really grateful and I appreciate it, because it really does make a difference in being able to do this work. And I thank you in advance for that. It means that it's less of a struggle to cost out, and I'm very grateful for that, and I thank you for that. But this has been a huge just not getting to the thank you letter is a big deal for me, because I believe that you have to say thank you. But I have been working on my seminary project, and so something had to slip through the cracks. And praise God, this week I literally handed off my 55-page project to the Johnny Coleman Theological Seminary, to the dean. And on October 14th, I will go to defend my project. My project was actually about doing a capital campaign for my church, and a lot of successes in there, a lot of things that I probably could have done better. But I will in October go to to defend my project. And then assuming successful completion, and I've already claimed successful completion, I will receive my ordination. So getting past this point was a huge hurdle, and I'm grateful to be here. Grateful to be here, and just know that those of you that you're accustomed to getting thank you notes from me and you haven't gotten them, that's why. I literally have had that much stuff on my plate. So thank you. Very, very grateful for the support. And Reverend JJ says, wonderful achievement, congratulations. Yes, I'm claiming it. And Andrea says, claiming success for the Transformers. Yes. One of the things that we had with my class, I had a small seminary class, there were 4 of us, and we just really bonded and just kind of locked up on one another. Like we just fell in love with one another. And we gave ourselves the name, the Transformers, because we saw ourselves as transformational agents, not just in the world, but also within the organization, the Universal Foundation for Better Living. And so we have stayed close together as a unit. Even now we get together on Friday mornings at 8:00 on the phone to pray and to prepare for whatever it is we're working on. Like if we're working on our projects, or at the time it was class, and working on our assignments. And we just kept each other in a prayer vibration by meeting every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific. And so I'm looking forward to us all crossing at the same time. And we made a pact that we would all graduate together, and we did. And now we're each going up for consideration for our projects, for the projects that we were doing for the last 3 years. And again, we are all collectively in prayer as the Transformers, agreeing that we will, all 4 of us, be ordained at the same time. So powerful group of people, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it, and so thankful for the consciousness that we each have collectively contributed to. So this series, there are 3 parts, and I always love the Bible Hangout because I could teach to the mirror, and got an opportunity to do a little bit of that last week because I sent the wrong link out. But there's always a blog post in the Bible Hangout. But what is fast becoming my favorite thing is the Mastermind Group. So on Wednesday nights, we just do it as far as Mastermind prayer. And last night's prayer was just so powerful. So if you are seeing this anywhere around the fall of 2016, meaning you may not be here tonight, but you might be watching this back, I encourage you to join this Mastermind Group. It's free. It's free. Like literally what we're doing, people pay thousands of dollars to get it to be a part of, because for whatever reason, people think they have to charge for a Mastermind Group. And so on Wednesdays at 6:00 Pacific, we get together for prayer. It's an open line. And so if you're interested, I encourage you to get in this vibration. It has been, like last night was particularly just off the charts. And so I just encourage you to join, like just come on in. And we're in the middle of a 21-day challenge at Up Church called Big Bold Moves. And this is a 21-day challenge of courageous choices. It's your time. And so it has been administered by my assistant minister, Reverend Sherri Thompson, and she has been knocking it out of the park every Sunday. And we've got live sermons, we've got online daily challenges, and you can go to upchurch.org and take a look at our new site, and also sign up for the challenge and get access to all the material. You can also find it at our Facebook page, facebook.com/upchurch. The scripture for this series is whatever you ask for in prayer with faith, you will receive. And the scripture comes from Matthew 21:22. And if you could just take a moment to relax and let go of anything that has happened before this moment. Just be here now. There is only one power. There is only one presence. There is only one energy. There is only one law. There is only one mind. There is only one thought. And that is God, the good, omnipotent, the everywhere, evenly present spirit of absolute good. It is the energy intelligence that links each one of us, though we sit separately in our own spaces, in our homes, or wherever we are each linked together by this one love. And we call on that love tonight. Stir up this gift within us, Spirit, so that we may lift ourselves to the highest vibration possible. I thank you right now for the breakthroughs that will come from this lesson. I thank you right now for the overcomings, for the victories that will come from this gathering this evening. I thank you in advance for every healing, every restoration, every returning to wholeness that happens. And I affirm that this class is anointed, that the questions that are asked tonight, the things that are said tonight are all done to your glory. In the name and through the power that is in the name of Christ Jesus, I affirm that it is so. And so it is. And amen. All right, let's get into it. Can anyone really pray without ceasing? And we always look at this card, why prayer matters. Positive prayer moves you into the highest vibration possible. Everyone is vibrating at some level. Everyone is vibrating at some level. You know this when you have walked into a room that feels heavy. And it's like, whoo, what's going on in here? This energy just feels like it's almost like it feels sticky, right? And you feel weighted down. But you've also walked into a room where it just felt euphoric. I think I shared with you guys last week the experience of going to the Hollywood Bowl for their concert. It was it was a bunch of things, but inside of that was a tribute to Prince. And there was the song Purple Rain, which Layla Hathaway just killed. And everybody had their lighters in the air. Well, really, it wasn't even lighters. It was cell phone lights in the air, and shining them. And it was like I don't know what this is. I guess it's called the magic hour. So the sun is down, but there's still some light. So it's called magic hour. And so it's this beautiful glow, like around the stadium, around the Hollywood Bowl. And we're all singing this song that means something individually to each one of us. And so we're having this euphoric individual / collective experience, and it's just transcendent, different vibration. Everything is at some level of vibration. Some things are what we might call low tone, and some things are what we might call high tone. Prayer moves you into the highest vibration possible because it moves you into alignment with the only power and presence there is. And so the prayer matters because it's your tool for getting there. There's no other way to get there. You may use different things to pray. You may use music to pray. You may use poems to pray. You may use pictures. You may use chants. You may do a whole lot of stuff to pray. But prayer overall is the only tool you have to move into the highest vibration there is. We say it this way in the Universal Foundation for Better Living, that prayer is highly accelerated mind action, right? And that mind action is that vibration. It's the vibration at which your mind is moving. And so prayer is it's the highest acceleration of mind action known to humankind. And it matters because in the absence of it, you're left to show up however you've just been showing up. You have nothing available to you to move you into that highest vibration and put you in a place where you can keep yourself there. So that's why prayer is so important. That's why this series, I'm in love with this series so much. And I hope that it's doing it for you what it's doing for me, which is one, I already had a fervor for prayer, but it's deepening my fervor for prayer and deepening my conviction about the power of prayer. In the absence of prayer, you are left to show up for life the way that you've always shown up for life. There's no character change to be had outside of prayer. None. And so prayer matters because it's how you change you. And if you want to be anything other than who you are, meaning if you want to have something that you don't yet have, you're going to have to become the person who can have it. Prayer is your avenue to become that person. In the absence of that, you become that person who may get what you want, but you're always grasping and you're always living in fear that it could be taken away. But prayer establishes a consciousness, because see, what's yours by consciousness, it can't leave you. Even if for a moment it got separated from you, your consciousness would reproduce it in an instant. I heard this, and I don't know who originally said it, but it stands to reason that if you collected all of the money in the world and redistributed it evenly among all the peoples of the world, within a certain time frame, we would be back to the same divisions that we have today, or similar divisions that we have today, in terms of who has money and who does not have money. It's not the money, it's the consciousness. And you must develop the consciousness to have whatever it is that you want. How many times, those of you who believe that more money will solve your problems, how many times have you gotten a windfall only to find that within a certain amount of time, it could have been a year, could have been a day, could have been 5 years, could have been a decade. But within a certain amount of time, that money is no longer in your possession, because it was never about the money. It was about the consciousness that produced the money. And in the absence of the consciousness that produces the money, you end up in a situation where you're constantly reaching for something that you quote unquote don't have. So this is why prayer matters, because prayer establishes character. Prayer establishes character, and it's the highest vibration. It moves you into the highest vibration possible. Naomi says Louise Hay made a similar comment about the redistribution of money. I've heard hers. Somebody else said it too, but again, it's the same thing. It is this idea that we have what we have because of who we are. And the only way to have something different is to change who we are. And if you change who you are, a law or a legislation or nothing will keep it from you, because it will simply be who you are. And so when you change on the inside, your world must change on the outside. Andrea says prayer chips away all the crap, fear, shame, anger that acts as a barrier of the truth of our beings and the full expressions of our spiritual gifts. Yes, that's it. That's it. It gets rid of all the crap. Let the crap go. Bye, crap. All right. So I wanted to touch on this because this young lady just killed it last month. A lot of people did, but she especially was exciting to me because she's from my hometown, Houston, Texas. And she tells a story, not Simone, but Apacia Hesbrook tells a story in the beginning of the chapter where she talks about mastering music. And this is what she says on page 23. She says, persons who wish to master the piano must practice on it every day for specific periods of time. They must do 5-finger exercises over and over until their fingers respond perfectly to what their eyes see on the page or their mental ears hear. They must practice until they do not even think about individual notes, but are completely one with the music they play. Even after they become accomplished pianists, they must return often to 5-finger exercises and practice daily. Significantly, as their sense of oneness with music grows, so does the length of their practice times. Prayer is the same way. And I use Simone Biles because she has just mastered gymnastics. I mean, come on. If you saw any of what happened at last week's presentation, you know that it was absolutely amazing. It was otherworldly. Last month's competition, it was otherworldly. She was absolutely transcendent. And even when she stumbles on the beam, if you see the stumble, the for me, just looking here, it's like, how'd you even like manage to stay on the beam? Because a different athlete making the stumble that she made would have fallen off of the beam. But there's such a deep level of mastery that she has that she is able to right herself. Now, it ultimately ends up costing her, of course, the gold, and she ends up with the bronze. But a different athlete would have just fallen off the beam. If you go back and look at the tape, a different athlete would have just fallen off of the beam. That level of mastery requires showing up daily. And there is, like, as you show up daily, you develop this intuitive sense about whatever it is that you're showing up for. And then as you become one, it's like you develop a language of thinking. How to say, like, you think like a gymnast. Let's say gymnastics is your thing. Or if your piano is your thing, you think like a pianist. It's like you become one with the craft. And the only way to get there is to show up every day. That's the only way to get there. When the Beatles came to the US, prior to the Beatles coming to the US, for many people, it feels like they popped out of nowhere. But they were actually playing 11 hours a day, something like that, 11 hours a day together for over a year and a half to outdoor audiences. And they were like competing, you have like street shows, whatever. So they had to learn to play in such a way that they grabbed the attention from other street performers. And they played outside of like a strip club, like I forget what it was called, but they played outside of like this row where there were strip clubs, and they had to attract the attention of people. And so there was a time where they just did the things that they knew. But there was a time when they had to go past what they knew and become inventive, and they had to learn to become inventive together. So there is this point at which you are becoming where you are throwing off what you know and what everybody else knows, and reaching into the invisible for what has never been known. That's what mastery is. You go beyond what is known by man to be possible. And you reach into the invisible and you pull out what has never been done. That's why prayer is so powerful. That's why it's so powerful. But whatever. Anyway, let me get back to what I'm saying. And the thing is, and that's why Simone is so delightful to watch, because she ends up doing things that no other gymnast can do. Now, here's the thing. Now that it's known, the barrier is broken for all gymnasts. And trust me, at the next Olympics, there will be many more people doing the Biles, right? The signature move that's named after her. So this is what showing up every day has the ability to do for you, is that you go beyond, you have the ability to go beyond all that is known to all of humankind and get what is yours to bring out into expression for humankind. That excites me. I don't know. I mean, y'all might not be excited about that. I'm jazzed about that. I can't wait to get there. Then I'm reaching for it in the work that I'm doing, where I go beyond all that is known by humankind. And I reach for what is only mine. Only I can bring it out. I reach for what is only mine to bring into expression. Oh, y'all ain't gonna be able to tell me nothing. Eve says, is prayer another way to connect with your higher self? Yes. Yes. Naomi says, I had a similar experience. I blessed my money, and within minutes, someone gave a gift to my sister. And I had a thought like, I'm happy for the gift, but she didn't have to do anything for it. Well, her money dissolved as quickly as she had received it, and mine was a benefit to me long afterwards. Consciousness, baby. Consciousness. If you ain't got the consciousness, it's like sands through the hourglass. It's just passing. But what is yours sticks to you like glue. What is yours sticks to you like glue. So the mastery, you can develop a prayer mastery. You can develop a prayer mastery, but it requires daily practice. You become that which you do every day. And the beauty of this is that life curves. Your daily habits curve you in a specific direction. So, when you first sit down to pray, right, it feels linear. And for a time, it is similar, like linear, where it's just, you're making these incremental steps. But there comes a point where your life habits curve you up in a particular direction, or depending on the quality of the habit, curve you down. And the thing is that it's being able to continue to show up at the point where it's just the incremental bit by bit steps. That's what I'm working on. I in my prayer time today, my prayer was, let me be patient for the puzzle piece that I'm given today. Right? I'm already in my head out speaking to arenas, 17,000 people, and it's like, girl, just be happy with the 30 folk you talk to today. Like, just come back here, come back to today and be happy in this moment today. Be here now. And so that's the thing about a prayer mastery, is that many of us never stick with prayer long enough to develop a prayer mastery, or we only come to prayer in a time of emergency. And so we only think of prayer as what you do in an emergency. If you talk to probably, I would say this is anecdotal, but if you would talk to probably 50 people, probably 45 of them only think of prayer as what you do in the time of need. They don't think of it as a daily discipline that is part of unlocking the deepest part of yourself. That's why prayer is so powerful. If all you do is pray for your urgent needs, how do you ever get to the magic inside of you? If all you do is pray, I'm not saying don't pray for your urgent needs. Pray for your urgent needs. If you need money, God, I need money. Please, hello, God, I need money. God, I don't do broke very well. I need money, right? Or if you need help, hey, God, guess what? I'm tired of my back hurting. I need help. Send me a solution for my back to stop hurting, right? But you got to go beyond that, because you have magic within you that's meant to come out. So just like Simone has the Biles that soon at some point in history, other people will be able to do, because her breaking the barrier has now broken it for all of humankind. Same thing with Michael Phelps. The barriers that he's broken are now broken for all of humankind. Somebody will one day come and best his records. It just will. Somebody will, because it's now done. Who would ever think that I don't know how many medals he has. I think he has 21, 22. I could be wrong. It may be more than that. Forgive me. I didn't keep up with all of his medals, but I think he's phenomenal. But somebody will come along and do better than him, because now it's been done for all of humankind. What is the thing that you will do that will break the barrier for all of humankind? And that's what prayer gets you to. That's what prayer mastery gets you to, is that you go in and you into yourself and you reach and bring out the very best of what is available for all of humankind. That's exciting to me. I don't, maybe not to y'all, but it's exciting to me. So the power of an exalted state. When we talk about this praying without ceasing, that we've all experienced that euphoria. We talked about the concert I shared with you where we played the Prince song, but we've all been in that state of euphoria. Staying in that vibration is a matter of choice. Staying in that vibration is a matter of choice. What makes what we have been doing on Wednesday night so powerful with the mastermind call, it has been the exalted state that we come together touching and agreeing and supporting one another in the lifting up of each of us collectively. That's what's powerful about it, is that you're in this prayer energy. And so if you've never experienced it, you should just call in just for just that one experience. But we're in this prayer energy. And so there are people that are on the call who, for different reasons, you know, it may be a timing thing, or may not just be their personality. They're not interested in speaking what they want aloud. And yet their prayers still get answered. So just being on the call, but not even speaking their prayer aloud to the group, the prayer gets answered. You can't beat that with a bat. But that's that exalted state. You have the ability to be in that state on a moment by moment basis. You don't have to wait for a prayer call to get there. You don't have to wait for Sunday service to get there. There is a way that you can handle yourself on a daily basis that will take you there and keep you there. So that's what we're going to talk about. And she gives 8 steps to doing that, to staying in that prayerful state, or what Paul would call how to pray without ceasing. So number 1, start your day in private prayer and meditation. Start your day in private prayer and meditation. And so there's a quote, Steve Pavlina wrote it. It was in a blog post. I put it on my blog. You can click the link to go to it. And it reads, "It's been said that the first hour of the day is the rudder of the day." And then he goes on to explain the power of that first hour. And it sets the course for your day, much like the rudder of a ship determines its course. And many writers quote him as a part of their efforts to convince you to adopt a positive morning routine. It has been my experience that what you do in that first hour deeply impacts how your day plays out. In fact, I can almost predict the quality of my day according to how I started. Now, I found this quote from Stanford Medicine. The most replicated findings in the field of willpower research is that people who use willpower seem to run out of it. The research shows that willpower decreases over the course of the day as your energy gets spent on stress and self-control. Like your biceps or quadriceps, the willpower muscle can get exhausted from effort. What prayer does is that it attunes you to God. It brings you into alignment with God. And so when you make prayer the first thing that you do on a daily basis, when you make that your first course of action at the top of a day, you essentially lift yourself to the highest vibration possible. So, and here's the thing. You start higher, you end higher. Mark my words and check this for yourself. Don't just take what I'm saying, test it out, see if it works for you. Keep a little journal for a week and rate yourself as far as like what your morning is like and how you started the morning. Put a little score, say 1 to 10, 10 being highest, 1 being lowest. And then see where you are in the evening. That's the first week. Then in the second week, I want you to deliberately do something positive in the morning for yourself, whether it's to get up and do some affirmations or some prayers or whatever it is, and then rate yourself in the evening when you close at night. End higher. When you start your day with private prayer and meditation, and what I mean by private, meaning you're not connecting to a prayer partner or getting involved with some type of collective public prayer, but this is just what you do alone with you and God. That when you start with private prayer and meditation, that you are raising your vibration at the top of your day to the highest vibration possible, which is the vibration of God. And so you start at a higher place. You essentially give yourself an advantage. When you know that any race that you are running, if you are an athlete, depending on how you prep before the race, you give yourself an advantage. When the young ladies for the for gymnastics got to Rio, they didn't participate in the opening ceremonies so that they could rest, and because their competitions came up first. So they had to do something to give themselves an advantage. They would have put themselves at a disadvantage if they had gone out to enjoy the opening ceremonies and not taken time to rest. What you do at the beginning determines how you run the race. And if you think of every day as a race that you are running, you are putting yourself in the best position for winning based on how you start your day. And the thing about willpower is that willpower decreases over the course of the day because of all the things that are just happening. The choices that you have to make during the day, keeping yourself even toned as opposed to flying off all over the handle every day, all the things that you do during the day, such that by the evening, your willpower has been drained. And so what prayer at the top of your day does is it fills up your cup. It fills up your willpower cup so that you are able to one, operate at a higher level throughout the day and finish at a higher level at the end of the day. So that's the first thing. Second to that, bless every meal. Now that seems, I don't know, probably you wouldn't think of that. But if prayer is highly accelerated mind action and it lifts your vibration, then depending on how many times you eat per day, or assuming that you eat 3 times a day, you have 3 built-in opportunities to raise your vibration back to morning levels. Willpower dissipates. And so when you stop to bless your meal, don't just think of it as, oh, I'm blessing my meal. Know that you are actually lifting up your vibration. The prayer you pray over your food does not just bless your food, it blesses you. And so it lifts you back up. Missing page. Here we go. Number 3. Habits that we need to break in terms of how we use I am. Instead of saying things like, I'm sorry, try, I apologize. One of the hardest things for me for a while was figuring out what to say to someone who had experienced death, like a death in the family or something like that. And you guys know this, the first thing that comes to mind is, I'm sorry for your loss. But every word is a vibration. Every word is there are no free words out here. Every word is a vibration, and it does one of 2 things. It either buoys you or drags you down. There's no in between. And it's just degrees in terms of like what that, you know, how high it lifts you and how low it pulls you. That's it. It's just a matter of degree. And what I have learned to do is just, instead of saying, I'm sorry for your loss, to say, I send you my deepest sympathies, that my heart goes out to you. I wish for you a deep sense of peace and comfort. But I took the words, I'm sorry for your loss, out of my mouth, because I'm not sorry. If you get what I'm saying, meaning not that I don't have compassion or anything like that, but that I'm sorry sets up a vibration that creates in me. And so I bless you. I lift you higher. I stand with you in prayer, knowing that you will get through this moment, knowing that even though you will have to create a new normal, that you will be able to do it. And I see you living victoriously even through this experience. So it is changing your words, is realizing that every word you speak matters. There are no free words. Some things another thing that we would say, I'm afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to say it. I say it. Whatever. I'm afraid to tell you that you drove down the wrong street. No, wrong street. It's to realize that we have verbal habits that have impact in our lives. And we have to be responsible for not allowing ourselves to just say anything. We can't afford it. Quintina says, I would not allow my children to say that they are sorry. You are what you say. Exactly. And the thing is that you're a spiritual being made in the image likeness. There's nothing sorry about you or anybody. Constance says, well, I don't even say sympathy because knowing that life is eternal. So I say, I lift you with love and light and standing in the realm of good. I like that. And I agree with you. I agree. There's another, I didn't get into this, but there's also this idea of loss, because these are concepts. Every word, one day I was in the middle of a sermon and I said, the line on my page said, every negative thought is an enemy. But what came out of my mouth is that every negative thought is an energy. And I said, yes, God. But every thought is an energy. And that energy is attractive, and it attracts to it that which is like it. So when you set up this concept in your mind, this idea that there could be loss, you open the door for loss in your experience. And so we learned to say in New Thought and in UFBL that there is nothing lost in spirit. It's nothing lost in spirit, ever, at all. Andrea says, being impeccable with our word. Yep, that's it. That's it. Constance says, there are no enemies, only inner me's. Yes, that's only the inner me. Yes, Lord, it's me standing in the need of prayer. That's what Sherri and I, whenever we kind of meet ourselves in some crisis or some moment, it's like, Lord, it's me standing in the need. But that's just it, is that you have got to be meticulous with that which you attach to I am. In Exodus 3:16, God tells Moses that my name is I am. That's a paraphrase, but he gives his name to Moses as I am. It's the only place in the Bible where the name of God is ever revealed. There's no other place in the Bible where the name of God, where God reveals his name to any character or person in the Bible. When you use I am, you essentially invoke the name of God. And whatever you follow I am with, you enliven in your experience. So you just simply cannot afford to link anything to I am that you do not want, because essentially what you're doing is you're saying you're taking the energy of God and pouring it into and giving life to something that's then going to turn around and beat you across the head in terms of an experience. Constance Naomi says, good one, Constance, inner me's. Yes, that's it. Those doggone inner me's. Number 4, act as if. Whether we realize it or not, all our words and acts are connected with the creative source, God, and are therefore creative. So again, this is how you pray without ceasing. So you start your day in prayer. You bless every meal, which gives you an opportunity to return to that vibration that you had in the morning. And then number 3, you watch how you use your I am, because how you use your I am impacts your vibration. And then number 4, you act as if. So whether you realize it or not, every word you speak, everything you do is connected to the creative source, which is God, and it is therefore creative. And so how you carry yourself. You know, one of the things I learned this from a friend of mine who's a writer, Reggie Bythewood. He would say that when you feel down, put on your best clothes, because the last thing you need to do is feel down and walk past a mirror and see yourself and look as bad as you feel. And so that's when you need to pull out your best makeup, ladies, or men, but pull out your best makeup and pull out your best clothes, because you do not want to feel bad and then see yourself and look as bad as you feel. That image reinforces itself. And so then you feel even more down. So that acting as if is so important. It is enormously important. It's part of keeping your vibration lifted. And so if you're working on a health consciousness and your left foot is giving you the blues, act as if maybe you can't dance a jig on the foot, right? But you could not complain about the foot. You know, start where you are. To the best of your ability, act as if. Maybe you are challenged financially. You know, you're praying for prosperity and you find yourself in a deeper hole than you were in before you prayed, right? Act as if. Don't give in to the frustration of not having. Act as if you have. Find what you do have to give. Like it's $1 million, because you're keeping your vibration lifted. So many times we pay attention to the things that are in our world that are not the way that we want them to be, and we let that appearance bring down our vibration. And so we set ourselves back. But if you want what's in you, and I think you do, and I do too, what's in me, the only way for it to come out is for your vibration to lift up. I said this in a sermon. I wish, and maybe this is in my future, I wish that I'd had the opportunity to work mentally with Gabrielle Douglas. I think she's phenomenal. She beat herself at the Olympics. She beat herself at the Olympics. She couldn't get out of her own head. As amazing as that young lady is, she couldn't get out of her own head to give her best performance. So the thing is that you have magic within you. Everybody does, right? Even the people that came in 10th has magic in them. But it's the degree to which you can get out of your own head that you're able to bring out what is inside of you. You're able to bring it out. You have the ability to do the impossible, but you cannot do the impossible allowing your mood to be knocked up and down based on appearances throughout your day. So you have got to have habits where you act as if whatever it is that you want is already so. Number 5, dedicate every word and act to the glory of God. Now, this sounds highfalutin. In fact, it sounds very pious, to tell you the truth. It sounds like something I would hear in the old Baptist church that I grew up in. Dedicate every word and act to the glory of God, right? Let me tell you something. She said something on page, what page was this? Hold on. It stopped me in my tracks. Cold. She says, this page 28, since we live and move and have our being in God, whatever we are saying or doing, we are saying and doing in the presence of God. And every word or act is a kind of prayer. We have this idea that we can somehow be alone. Thing is alone because you are always in the presence of God. You are never alone. We are always in the presence of God because we are the presence of God in expression. Deep, 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 deep. That one caught me in the gut, like whatever you are saying or doing, you are doing and saying in the presence of God, because you're always in the presence of God. And so so when we talk about dedicate every word, really what we're saying is be mindful, right? This is not about being holier than thou, but it's a mindfulness, right? It's that I don't drop into autopilot. I mean, how many of us on our way to work drop into autopilot? You've forgotten the turns and the streets you drove down, and you ended up at work safely because you went into autopilot. And so many times we do that. And what I'm encouraging you to do is to wake up to right now and be in right now, to be in this moment. That's what it really means to dedicate every word and act to the glory of God. It's that I'm not going to have any mindless words. I'm not just going to do anything, that I'm going to be mindful at every moment of the day. And what that means is I got to come out of the past Because that's what happens when we drop on autopilot. We start thinking about what happened, or we start worrying about what could happen, right? And so I'm going to come out of the past. I'm going to come back from the future, and I'm going to drop into this moment right here. And this is the way that you're able to dedicate every word and act to God. So it's not as highfalutin as it sounds, or as pious and religious as it sounds. It's really about mindfulness. It's really about being here now. It's about being aware of every word that you're speaking, and not just saying anything or doing anything, but where you are, that every act and every word is sacred. Constance says, if you take the word God and change it to good or love or peace, etc., you can be and do and say in the presence and feel the truth about it. Yes, yes, yes. Constance says that today good is in me, and I am all the good there is. Therefore, good is all I give, be, and do. Yes, Reverend JJ says absolutely. Ray says, I'm just loving this class topic and brilliant blog. Yay, thanks God. And thank you, Hypatia, because the ideas are all coming from her. I'm just putting my spin on it, my stink on it. Number 6, intentionally fill each moment. Intentionally fill each moment. Do not allow your mind to simply wander. Develop positive mantras that you repeat silently to yourself, and create triggers to remind you to say your mantras. On the blog, I shared this experience that I had at JCI, or the Johnny Coleman Institute in Chicago. And this was when I was in the teacher training program, and Reverend Herbert Lassiter was my instructor. And there had been a problem with the printer that day. And so he got to class late, and he came in with this like trough of papers that were not collated. They were copied, but they weren't collated. And he apologized, and then he put the papers down, and then he asked each of us to get up and basically file around like we snaked around the room, because there was that many papers, to basically collate our own handouts. So we did that, and he gave us this song to sing that said, Spirit of the living God, rise afresh as me, Holy Spirit, Christ within me, Spirit of the living God, rise afresh as me. And so we just kept doing that as we snaked around the room. And then when we sat down, he asked us to basically tell him what that experience was like for us. And so different people shared. It was positive all the way around. But for most of us, it just went like that. And it was a huge handout that he had us collate, like 50 or so pages, like a huge handout that we were all snaking around the room, as they were laid out to collate. But it went so fast. And what it taught me, and the lesson, he used the experience as a teaching moment to teach us how to take our minds somewhere when we're in the midst of a frustrating experience. That just because you're in an experience where things did not work out the way that you wanted them to work out. So the printer didn't work out, and now he has to come to class with his students, and he's got his lesson plan, all the material he needs to cover. And now a good portion of the class is going to be eaten up with us collating our own handouts. And I learned from that how to take my mind into a good place, no matter what is going on externally. Incidentally, the reasons why I brought a journal to work when I first started working at Donor Services Group and fundraising for nonprofits, because I would get on the phones and I would be told, no, shut down. Basically, I'd go home and I would have made the minimum wage, but I would not have earned any bonuses, and was essentially in danger of being fired from the job for lack of performance. And I brought the journal to work because of that lesson from Reverend Herbert Lassiter. And I would sit and I would write affirmations. So in between phone calls, I would write affirmations to keep my vibration high in between phone calls. So you have to be intentional about every moment. You may not always be able to control what you need to do in a moment. At that moment in the history of my life, that was the best job I could find. And it felt like this was the only job I could find at the time. We were in the midst of the recession. This is a crazy time. Anyway, the point is that you may be in a situation where you feel like you're stuck. But just because you're in a place where you feel like you're stuck does not mean that your vibration has to sit down in the pool of mess with you. That there are things that you can do to lift your vibration higher, no matter what your experience is. There is, I don't know if it's Thich Nhat Hanh or whatever, but you guys know the Buddhist, Tibetan monk, excuse me. Or maybe it's Gandhi. But he says that when you transform suffering, it ceases to be suffering. I used the quote recently, that's why it's in my head, but I don't remember it exactly. But the point is that you might be in a really bad situation right now. I don't know, right? You might be in a situation where you literally just don't have what you need. You don't have the money that you need, or you don't have the relationship that you want, or your health is in jeopardy, or your children are out on the street, or right? Those are the circumstances. It does not mean that you have to be there in your mind, that there are things that you can do to take your mind somewhere else. Frank, no, not Anne Frank. Life is Beautiful, the film Life is Beautiful. It was a story of this father and son who were in a concentration camp, and how he taught his son to take his mind somewhere else, even though they were in a concentration camp. Your circumstances are, but what I do know is that you can intentionally fill each moment, that you're not stuck just because of your circumstances. And when you go somewhere else in your mind, you effectively transform the situation. Number 7, mind your own business. Most of our vibration coming down is because we are paying attention to what other folk are doing. Now, this was my favorite meme that came out of the Rio Olympics. And it's wonderful because it's just wonderful. So on the bottom, or the picture that's in the foreground, the man that's in the foreground is Michael Phelps. I don't remember which event this was. But it looks like the breaststroke, but who knows? But it's Michael Phelps. And then the image of the man in the background is Richard Leclerc. And those of you that watched the Olympics, you know that there was a period where the swimmers were sitting together, and Michael Phelps had his headphones on, he had his game face on, and then Richard Leclerc was like in his face dancing, like almost pop locking, trying to get in Michael Phelps's head. Then they go and they race, and we know that Michael Phelps like dusts him basically. And so this was my favorite meme. Now, who knows if this is actually what was happening for these two guys, but the way this image looks is that Michael Phelps is looking at the finish line, and Richard Leclerc is looking at Michael Phelps. And the meme is, winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. And it is my favorite meme probably that came out from the Olympics. But the point is that you cannot keep your vibration up paying attention to what somebody else is doing. It just doesn't work that way. The moment that you draw your attention off of your own work and put it on somebody else, it's like that Pac-Man, you just lose your energy. It's just gone, gone. That's my favorite meme of like the entire Olympics. And so that's the thing about maintaining your vibration, that when we talk about this praying without ceasing, what we're really talking about is staying in a vibration, in a highly accelerated vibration, in a God-like vibration. And there are things that you can do during your day that allow you to do that. Andrea says, I love this meme. So powerful. Isn't it the bomb? I love it. Andrea says, Johnny Coleman did it. She was so involved in studying truth, she did not know when her healing came. She just knew that she was healed. Yes. Constance says, girl, all day long, I have to tell myself, Constance, mind your business. Yes, 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 yes. It is. And finally, close out the day with private prayer and meditation. End your day sets the tone for the quality of sleep you enjoy each night. End your day in private prayer and meditation. There are lots of studies that talk about the value and the power of bedtime routines, how you wind down. Don't go to sleep with the TV on. something that is disturbing to you. Don't check your Facebook feed before you go to bed. But to basically consume positive information, because you're entering into this unguarded state, right? You're entering into this state of mind where your mind just gets to wander free, to go where it's been programmed to go. And if the last thing you read was some incendiary post on Facebook or on Twitter or wherever, then that's what your mind feeds on while you are asleep. And so this private prayer meditation, besides the fact that it's just a good practice, is that it keeps the vibration high. And so you go to sleep in a high vibration. All right, y'all, time to do something. Chances are you have a good prayer routine. If you're in the Bible Hangout and you're into metaphysics, you probably do already have a good prayer routine. So my question is really, what did you hear that you can add to your day? That you heard that's like, you know what, I could add this to what I'm already doing. Are you more convinced now that you can't afford not to pray without ceasing? That's my hope, is that you walk away from this committed to praying without ceasing. And then finally, what other questions do you have about how to pray without ceasing? Leave me a comment on the YouTube video for this lesson. I always love to get the comments, and I always try to respond inside of 24 hours when I get the comments. Questions, comments. Alita says, MYOB, mind your own business. Yes, yes, yes. Constance says, the latest thing I added was the chant from the meditators. I can't add another thing. Yes, I love the chanting. That was the first time. So Kim Yarbrough, so she's was my prayer partner back in the day. And she took me to I want to say a Tibetan, it wasn't Buddhist, but I felt it was like a Tibetan temple, or I don't remember. Anyway, it was in West LA. And so we did the chanting, and it was just okay. Like, it just wasn't, I was like, okay, good. I'm glad I experienced this. This was nice, but it didn't really do anything for me. My immediate perception of it. And I was at the women's retreat for Universal Truth Center a couple of years ago, and Reverend Shirley Lawson from Chicago led us through a chanting series for all of the 12 powers. And it was so powerful. And for a short time after that, I actually did add chanting to my daily prayer. I don't do it anymore, but that's just more because I fell out of the habit. But that was the first time that I experienced chanting in a way that it was amazing. Quintina says, staying in my own lane is important. When I do this, my day goes much smoother. Yes, girl. And yes. I'm not going to affirm that I dip in other people's lanes. I'm just going to say I'm learning to not do it. Andrea says, God is always listening because he is always with me. Everything I say is connected with my relation. Eve about God. Yes. Yes. Awesome. So next week, we will look at chapter 4. And I have to, so last week, when I shared, I did my binge. So the binge is over. I've watched all the episodes of Greenleaf. But I skipped chapter 1 thinking that it was an introduction, which is about positive prayer. So what I'm going to do, we're going to finish the book and then go back to chapter 1, which might be an interesting exercise in itself. But we're going to go on to chapter 4 on the use of denials and affirmations. And page-wise, it's page 39 to page 53. Page 39 to page 53 in Handbook of Positive Prayer by Hypatia Hasbrook. All right. If there are no other questions, I thank you guys for tonight. Thank you. I'm going to go watch the Carolina Panthers. Don't nobody tell me the score. I'm knowing that they are winning. I'm hoping that they're winning. So, all right. Have a good night. Thank you, guys.